in the Engadine Valley of the Swiss Alps is the town of St-Moritz, and for over a century they've been sliding down the road to the village of Celerina below. Welcome back everybody to our coverage of the 7th race weekend of the BMW IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Cup. It's women's skeleton afternoon. We're going into the second heat of a tight race. Martin Haven and Elizabeth Meyer enjoying the sun in St-Moritz and watching the action.
The top four are only 2/10 behind the leader, Tina Herman, and Jacqueline Lolling is sitting in third. A couple little bit of messy lines at the top of the track for her, but she found speed like no one else at the bottom of the track. Next we have Meimerdinger, who has won 2 races here, and it is one of her favorite places on this track. She's very quick on the start, a little bit of room for improvement. Really could see her fighting for that top spot. There will be a good race between those top 4 athletes in this second heat. And first is sitting Tina Herman. She has never won gold here, but she has been a podium contender in the past before. She wheeled and jiggled her way down to a track record at the bottom. Not the quickest on the start, but definitely a speed merchant at the bottom of the track.
Yeah, Tina produced a stunning speed at the bottom to claim a new track record and a first heat lead, which I'm pretty sure is for the first time in her career. As you say, neither she nor Jacqueline Lurling have ever won this race. Previous winners who are still competing are limited exclusively to Meimerdinger and Janine Flock. And hey, guess what? They're in the top 4 as well. Elena and Akina half a second away. Probably not going to take a medal from there unless she has a lot of help. But further down in the order, in our top 20, lots of close gaps. Elena Tararichenko and the Chenkova and the others do not get to go through, but like everybody else, Jane Channel at the top of the track, and Madeline Smith there adjusting their sleds, making final checks on the runners, making sure that everything is okay for the second heat. Sun is out. It was cloudy this morning in the men's race. The track actually, perversely for St-Moritz, got slower in the second heat of the men's race, which I'm never sure I've actually seen before in 20 years of coming here. But in the women's race, the sun is out, and that allows the track to glisten just a little, and as the top tiny micro layer of ice starts to melt, it lubricates the runners. It should be quicker than ever.
Definitely, but at the bottom of the track here, it is actually starting to melt a little bit, so the ice is so soft because the sun is so bright, and it's not very cold here, which we're not used to in St. Moritz.
Yeah, in fact, everybody's out warming up in jackets, but in the sunshine, you could equally be doing it in a t-shirt. In the shade, it still reminds you you're high in the Alps. It is January, but in the sunshine, well, you're kind of almost thinking, oh, quite fancy a sunbathe and a bit of a swim later. Time for our second and deciding heat. They're the fastest 20 from heat 1 go through in reverse order. So Savannah Graybill, 20th in the first run, goes off first. And our race leader will defend the lead. Tina Herman will be the last sled on ice as she tries to claim her first ever World Cup win here in St-Moritz. So top 4 covered by just 0.2 of a second. But let's get things underway. Race 7 of the BMW IBSF Women's Skeleton World Cup. We're in St-Moritz in Switzerland. First off, Savannah Graybill heading off to set the pace in our second and deciding heat. Martin Haven and Elizabeth Meyer from Canada watching the action.
She had a bit of a funky kink on that first heat and is able to fix it and correct it for the second heat. She is the only self-funded athlete on the female side for the Americans, so she's not actually staying with the team. She's having to stay elsewhere. So it's a bit of a tricky situation for her.
If you want to find somewhere cheap to stay in St-Moritz, Italy's a good suggestion.
Austria.
Yeah, any of those. So Savannah Graybill, again, trying to build speed on this slower, gentle descent part of the track out of Sunny Corner. The shades are there because of the sun. Through Nash and Dixon, named after the 2 Brits who won the 64 two-man Olympic gold, members of the St-Moritz Bob Club.
Little bit of a tap before horseshoe. You're going to want to see those athletes getting closer to the roof, almost kissing it.
So Savannah fighting her way through into the second heat. Let's see if she can pick up a little spot or 2. She's only about 1/10 behind her closest rivals.
There could be lots of movement in this second heat. The athletes are very close together.
A lot of Hessian shades you can see keeping the sun off the track. All very hand-built, like the rest of the track. 1:11.59, 1:11.42 in the first heat. So, yeah, we may not see much quicker running Normally the day starts off traditionally here this end of January or early February when we come here, overnight low around -20 Celsius, daytime high around -10, so it's very frosty in the morning. Gradually that warms up and it gets quicker and quicker, but you're right, we may well be into it's a bit too warm.
Yes, and it's much different ice than these athletes were training on all week, so they don't quite have the setup. It would have had to be a guess. Not a ton of height in Horseshoe, and that's maybe where a little bit of the speed is gone. But now Horseshoe is in the shade, so it's going to start slowing down in that area.
Savannah Graybill, the race leader. Next up, Maddie Charney from Canada. 19th place after the first heat. She's got 1100s in hand. Maddie in her 10th World Cup start. Has not had a World Cup race here, though she did race in Junior Worlds and another race a couple of years ago.
Just a really quick left toe tap to keep away from that extra fillet in kink 1. You can see the runners just kind of wiggling underneath her. Could be from moving just a little bit or the little bit of build-up that may be happening on the track.
Just those little ripples. It is all natural. It's built on a mountain, so it's not perfectly smooth to start with, you'll understand.
And the person that has been building Horseshoe has been doing it for 20 years, and if he doesn't do it, it's super difficult to get out of.
Yeah. Well, it might be a little too easy these days. We just had the Youth Olympic Games. That's possibly part of the reason why the bottom half of the track is easy, but she goes low in Horseshoe, comes out and hard onto Telephone.
It's hard when you don't get that height in Horseshoe to get a nice entry into Telephone.
4400s up, down to 2900s over Savannah Graybill. She needs speed at the bottom. She's slower than Savannah at this stage. She's ahead on time, but is the speed in the sled? 130.7, 1.5 kilometers an hour slower than her American rival. This could be back to a couple of hundreds at the line. It is 100th behind. So she slips a fraction into second place. Savannah Graybill will stay in the sunny leaders box for another minute or two. Never a bad place to be, and certainly not on a track like this. It is very warm down there on the finish dock. Coach Eric Benotus now with the Canadian program, former race winner, won here a decade ago in men's skeleton.
Tries to cut to make into a straightaway coming out of wall, but just has a little bit of a tap on that right side. Coming into Horseshoe, she gets a second pressure, and that's why she's needing to drop the toe to get her off that line, but it is an aggressive cross into Telephone.
That takes the speed away. Savannah Graybill, the leader, commiserates with Maddie Charney. Next up, Russia's Yulia Kanakina, normally one of the fastest starters in the field. She was 4th fastest away, but the sled was just skidding out of her control almost from the moment she laid down.
Yeah, she is one of the fastest starters, but just unable to kind of keep that sled going straight underneath her.
Already looking a little better.
Just leaning with her head to kind of get around that second kink. A skeleton athlete steers with the head, shoulders, knees, and toes. So when that head is moving, she is putting impact into the sled.
Always think it's like riding a motorcycle. You're so much of the overall weight of your equipment, aren't you?
Definitely.
Out of Sunny and heading down to Nash and Dixon, just leaning again.
You can see that sled just skidding a little bit under her as she moves her feet around.
Now it is less skiddy, so I wonder whether the track has changed to her setup or she's changed the setup towards the track, or both. 95.4.
Really low line in Horseshoe, and that's where that speed is gone.
Yeah, really low velocity. 1:10.0 for Savannah Graybill. She's half a second up. I'm not sure she's going to be ahead at the line.
There's still lots of track to go, and she has to have perfect lines to be able to maintain it.
1:30.4. This could be close as well. Where's she going to end up? In front or behind? Savannah just in front. 1:11.51. 2100 slower than her first heat. In the men's race, the closest we got in Heat 2 a couple of hours ago to anybody matching their first heat time was Thomas Ducours. He was only 800 slower in the second heat, but then he was only 11th in Heat 1, so he should have been faster anyway. Everybody else was around a quarter second, maybe 3/10 slower.
Really, really low line here in Horseshoe. She wants to be almost 2 sled lengths higher, closer to that roof, having to drop the toes, but it's a really aggressive cross into Telephone, and you lose the velocity there.
They're just hitting that take-on ramp so hard as you come up onto the corner. So Yulia Kanakina is our race leader. Will she move up, though? Well, she was only 100th behind Australia's Jacqui Narracott. Fellow Aussie John Farrer there in his Canadian gear. He used to slide for Australia until a couple of seasons ago. And for her, nice to have another Aussie on tour.
She's been recovering from a concussion from last season, was able to kind of get over that in the summer, and now is working towards having one of her best seasons of her life.
Well, she was looking forward to sliding all season long with husband Dom Parsons, but he came back after taking last year off following the Olympic Games and then retired at Christmas.
A little bit of a drift into that right wall.
3500s back. Losing out a little at the start to Julia Kanakina by 1200, so that multiplies all the way down to Horseshoe.
And Julia was just bleeding time a little bit down. Now Jacqui's got to drive her way into the race.
Not a high line there either. She was a little too far to the right coming into Horseshoe. But she's got better speed, 97.3, second quickest to Savannah Graybill.
Now is keeping the sled nice and parallel during these right-hand corners, able to really accelerate.
Not bad from leap into sacks. We've seen a lot of sleds flopping there. 132.9, very good speed, fastest we've seen. So she will lead at the bottom of the line ahead of Julia Kanakina, and she opens up 3600s on the Russians. She was 100th in front from the first heat.
And she was faster than her first heat as well, and that's really great to see.
That's possibly an indication that she was a bit underplaying in the first heat, or underperforming in the first heat. Previous best here, an 8th place in 2018.
See her load onto the sled with her stomach first, and then she's going to pop those hands underneath her legs into those handles so she's able to steer the sled a little bit more. Very low line again here in Horseshoe, has to drop a toe to kind of prevent any extra pickup of getting a second pressure, but is not even looking for the exit, just trusting, but lots of height on the exit.
So Jacqui Narracott in the leader's box for Australia. Next up, the first of our 3 Great Britain sliders, Maddie Smith. 9th fastest start, drifted away to 16th at the bottom. The GB sleds have not had the speed at the bottom of the track. Well, same start as her first heat, and again trying to run as straight and parallel and peaceful as you can down here.
You can see her head just moving a little bit as she tries to keep the sled nice and parallel heading into the wall.
Desperately trying not to panic and scare the sled into a skid.
A little bit of extra pressure, she comes off of wall, and that is why it's pulling her to that right side.
How Sunny avoids the tap from Sunny to Nash and Dixon.
Nice controlled looking run.
She had lots of control in the first heat, not a great deal of speed as you get into the forest down the run. 97.2, not far off the pace of Savannah Graybill. But the lead is down to 1800s over Jacqui Narracott.
Bleeding time just a little bit, and this final track split is really long.
The Aussie was quicker on her Bromley sled. Needs 133 to stay in front, has got nothing like it. Gap's going to be very, very slight. Jacqui Narracott may well have this position as well. She does. 300s, it wasn't much. It rarely is here, is it? Well, there's Marix with a wry smile, the new Latvian coach for British Skeleton this year.
Yeah, these British athletes are learning how to work with a completely new team for them. So there is a little bit of growing pains as well as kind of struggling to figure out the sleds.
So 300ths of a second is a tiny margin in 1700 meters of ice.
Quick load onto the sled with those legs first, trying to accelerate the sled as much as possible, leaning away from that wall just before she enters into Portego, pushes her away.
So Jacqui Narracott of Australia leads, 5 sleds down, 15 to go here in sunny St. Moritz. Penultimate race of the Women's Skeleton World Cup, St. Moritz in Switzerland. Martin Haven, and alongside me, Lisbeth Meyer of Canada, watching Valentina Margalio. Just a little heavy bump off the zero curve, avoided a hit with the wall on the other side though.
And this is similar to what she had in that first heat. She is an incredibly quick starter.
Yeah, outstarted only by Russia's Elena Nikitina.
So far, a very similar run to what we saw in that first heat.
she's a busy slider, isn't she? She rarely still on the sled.
Yep, lots of jiggling and moving those feet.
And I wonder whether the coaches decide the setup of the sled, or she does, where they're just getting her to try and learn how to handle a fast, loose sled.
Definitely. Sometimes you just want to see what they can control and see how much speed they can gain out of it.
Yeah. You've got to balance that with confidence. The sled going, this is going to be as coach going, this is going to be the fastest sled. Yeah, not if you can't drive it, though. Valentina, though, still in the lead.
She was able to miss that tap before Gunter Sachs that she had in that first heat.
Could have enough, just about in hand, to take over the lead from Jacqui Narracott. Again, a slender margin. When you're in the leader's box like that, and you know, and you're sort of picking people off, do you feel a little bit, oh, I'm really sorry about that? You heard Jacqui already apologising, and Savannah to Maddie, Charney for sort of being better than them, but that is the intention.
Definitely. It's kind of difficult, though, because you want to win a race when someone's at their best. And so when you see the mistakes happen, it is a bit of a tricky situation as an athlete, because you don't wish poorly upon anybody.
Yeah.
Little bit of a pull as she comes out of Sunny, puts her into a bit of a skid, and those feet are just kind of tapping behind her to try to bring the sled back under control. A little bit of extra pressure, and she kind of snaps the sled off the corner to keep going as parallel as possible.
Yeah, she was desperate to avoid the second hit. She knew that was coming, didn't she? Next up, Anna Fenstetteva of the Czech Republic. Anna was in 14th place after first heat with a 2400ths of a second advantage over our current leader, Jacqui Narracott.
It's her first World Cup season as a Czech athlete. Is learning what it's like to be a small nation instead of working with the Germans.
Well, 2 years ago as a German, she was on an FES sled. She's got a different sled this year to the different sled that she had last year. So that's 2 whole seasons spent trying to learn new equipment after changing nation.
Definitely a lot of changes for Anna, but of course the goal is in 2022.
Yeah, to represent the Czech Republic. And, you know, in the German squad, she was a regular top 3 candidate, wasn't she? So it's not like she's forgotten how to drive.
No, and it is these growing pains, these learning what it takes to be an athlete of a small nation.
And she's gone from having a big coaching setup around her to having a tiny coaching setup around her, but the speed is still in there somewhere. 1:11.4, fastest we've seen from Anna Fenstetteva.
Keeping the sled nice and parallel during those right-hand corners.
1:34.6, way quicker than Jacqui Narracott. That's it. The Aussie is out to the leader's box, and in comes Anna Fenstetteva, 1:10.96, and that is faster than her first heat by a tenth of a second.
Just seemed to be a little bit more relaxed on her sled for this heat in comparison to the first one.
Yeah. And possibly it just, you know, if it feels good from the first couple of corners or down that first slow straight, maybe that builds the confidence.
Nice height in horseshoe, given the equipment that she's on. It is trickier. You really have to muscle it to get height in there with a Schneider sled. Coming off, she has a small tap just before Portobello, Portego.
Yep. So Anna Fenstetteva leads for the Czech Republic with 13 sleds to come. Next of whom is Great Britain's Kimberley Murray. Now lives near the High Performance Centre of Bath, originally from the Isle of Wight.
You can hear that toe just tapping behind her. Rides up quite high on the fillet, but is able to keep the sled nice and parallel heading into King 2.
10th fastest starter in the first heat, just a fraction slower, 5:37.
Nice and relaxed on the sled, not fighting it, letting it accelerate.
It's only her 11th World Cup race. She missed last week because she was in Lake Placid in the Intercontinental Cup, the second tier of sliding.
Bit of a whirlwind trip for her, and now she's jet lagged coming back to St. Moritz.
Well, and then she'll go for a week in Altenburg training up for the World Champs before heading to Sigulda and then back to Altenburg. It's a glamorous life, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
3,300s up, gaps come down from half a second.
Doesn't quite have the speed out of horseshoe that we've seen some other athletes have.
Again, no huge mistakes, but the speed is not there. 1:09.1 to 1:11.4. Fenstetteva, the gap is tiny. Now, can she find speed on the straight? The answer is no. 1:32.1. That's 2.5 kilometers an hour slower than Fenstetteva's Schneider sled. And across the line, 1:11.32.
There was no large mistakes that I saw from Kim. Just really isn't able to accelerate the sled at the bottom of the track like Schneider was able to.
Yeah. So a combination of the sled, the runners, the setup, the athlete, everything goes into the mix together. It's never just one thing that's either good or bad.
Coming off of wall just with a little bit of extra pressure pushes the slider into that right side. And then also coming off of Sunny, really fighting, almost kicks that wall.
And also from Great Britain.
Nice and parallel lines as she heads into Gunter Sachs.
So Anna van Tettemer takes over from Kimberley Murray, and we get to our 12th fastest slider in the first heat, the top Brit of 3, Olympic bronze medalist from Pyeongchang, Laura Deas. Well, Laura has been struggling to piece together the good results this year as well. Best here, bronze medal back in 2015.
She is a veteran of this team as well, leading this younger team. Nice and relaxed aerodynamic position. You can see her head just leaning around kink 2. You don't want to fight the sled during those long straightaways. You got to let the runners go straight.
Yeah, the time it takes you to get down to the first proper corner with a name here, you'd be in sort of turn 5 in Winterberg or somewhere.
It is a long, slow start here in St. Moritz.
Nice, smooth-looking run. 5800s ahead of Anna van Tettemer.
A little bit of toe taps, a tiny skid underneath her.
See the bus going down the road right beside Horseshoe. Still half a second up. 97.6 though, kilometre an hour shy on pace. Van Tettemer on a customer Schneider sled. 109.9. Again, a kilometre and a half down now.
Just bleeding a little bit of speed. You can hear either it's her helmet or her toes dragging on the ice just at the bottom of the track when it gets quicker.
And 3 Ks down in terms of top speed. Was 4/10 in front. Will she be in the leader's box? She is not. So Anna van Tettemer moves up again. Definitely more questions than answers, I think, in the British squad at the moment about where the pace is going. The longer the track, the more they lose speed, it seems, against other sliders.
Running super close to that sled just before she hops on. Trying to accelerate it as quickly as possible. Skeleton is kind of like 3 parts. You need to be a quick starter, have great equipment, and a great driving ability to be successful in this sport.
Well, here, late on, had a big steer to try and get the sled off straight. And some of that accounts for the lack of speed down at the bottom of the track. So Laura Deas, as ever, more questions than answers. Anna van Tettemer leads as we get to our 11th fastest athlete in the first heat, riding a real high at the moment, having a great European campaign, World Cup rookie Megan Henry of the USA.
She's a super quick starter. She is one of the smallest athletes in the field, if not the smallest. Had a couple great results these last 2 weeks and is riding that high for sure.
US Army athlete from Connecticut, and her first time on almost all these European tracks, raced here a couple of seasons ago.
Nice and relaxed on that sled, able to let it accelerate. Nice middle entry into Nash. Similar into Dixon.
Again, on the track, you don't hear much noise from the sled. It's just the whistle of the wind. 5600s ups, come down from 7/10, 97.1, not as quick as Van Tettemer.
A little bit down on Anna as well at this speed trap.
Yep. Losing speed here. This is not going to see her in the lead at the line. Little brush on the wall, 131.4. May slip back a couple of hundreds behind Anna van Tettemer. Could be close. 1500s back, and that drops behind Laura Deas as well. Well, she had her first World Cup medal in Innsbruck a couple of weeks ago, had another top 6 finish in Koenigsegg last week, having a very good European season. Megan Henry, her first year on the World Cup.
It's a close battle between these few athletes here, so we could see a little bit of movement when we return from commercial break. A little bit of a tap on the slider's right side. See those toes tapping behind her, trying to get in control of the sled.
So she's 0.15 of a second behind Anna Fehn-Stettever over 1,700 meters of ice. That means you're giving away less than 100th of a second per 100 meters. Nobody's that close to Usain Bolt. So that's what I'm saying, over 100 meters. So 10 down, 10 to go here in St. Moritz. Anna Fehn-Stettever for the Czech Republic leads Laura Deas and Megan Henry. Again, Lisbeth Meyer, we have not seen very many athletes better their first heat effort. Only Anna Fehn-Stettever really stands out, and all the others just a little slower, apart from Jacqui Narracott, and she moved up the order as well. And again, possibly because they were a little bit out of where they should have been, because their first heat wasn't perhaps as good as it could have been.
Definitely, and that's what we've seen with Anna. She didn't have a great first heat, and she was really able to clean it up and accelerate and have amazing speed at the bottom of the track.
Well, lots of fans up in the sunshine. There'll be an awful lot more here at the weekend as everybody comes out for women and two-man bob on Saturday and four-man bob on Sunday. And wherever you look around this village of St. Moritz and down in the bottom of the valley there, Arena, there's great history all around you. Just some spectacular views, spectacular locations. And no matter how high you go, no matter how high up the mountains you've gone by cable car or funicular or on foot or whatever, there are still more peaks and more peaks and more peaks.
It really is a picturesque view. It's beautiful. When you stand at the top of the track, you're surrounded by mountains. Yeah. It's stunning.
And you saw there the Cresta run going underneath the bobsleigh run, which runs across over the top of it. That's where the bump is between Martineau and Portago. There's the horseshoe bar, open for business today. They weren't yesterday during final training. And there'll be a bit of a party there generally over the weekend.
It's a historic place to be able to watch sleds and have a couple drinks.
Cresta run on the left-hand side, that's that Hessian fencing there, and going from right to left, Martineau on the first, on the right-hand side, your shot, and then Portago, the final two corners. It's uphill out of Martineau, through Portago, over the Cresta track. And of course, Cresta is where Bob Skeleton first started, back over a century ago. Stunning St. Moritz, the 7th race of the BMW IBSF Women's Skeleton World Cup. Martin Haven and Canada's Elizabeth Meyer watching teammate Jane Channel as she gets ready to go. 10th in the first heat. Our current leader is Anna Fehn-Stettever of the Czech Republic.
Jane is one of the quickest starting athletes, has been since she started skeleton.
Real landmark today, 45th World Cup start, and as you say, she was 3rd fastest at the getaway in Heat 1. She's matched that time in the second start.
Nice and composed on that sled.
Best result here in St. Moritz was actually Jane's first race in St. Moritz. She was 7th back in 2015.
Where she did take a 3rd run as well because she hit a twig in the track.
Yeah, twigs, brooms, you know, any detritus, it's Jane's run. Just drifts a little away from the left-hand side into horseshoe, doesn't get the height maybe she wanted, but a nice landing through Telephone and Shamrock.
Has a really big lead over Anna.
Well, she might need it because she's a kilometre now down in terms of pace. 109.5, 2 Ks down. The speed is sagging away from that of Anna Fehn-Stettever, our current leader.
And a little bit of a tap as she heads into Gunter Sachs.
A little bit of adjustment on the track as well. 4 kilometres now down. Uphill through Portago to the line, a 10th in front, so she hangs on to a top 10 finish. And the sleds here are very tightly jammed together. So she's only 100th off Marina Gilardoni in 9th, less than a 10th away from 7th place Kim Marmans. So there could be potential for moving up the order here.
Just coming off of wall, a little bit of extra pressure. A lot of athletes are struggling in that area. Coming off of sunny, just a little bit too soon as well, which pushes the athlete into that right side. Here we see her at the bottom of the track, just a little bit of a tap before Gunter Sachs.
So Jane Channel moves into the leader's box and the sunshine. Next up is Marina Gilardoni of Switzerland, 6th fastest starter, ended up in 9th place, 100th of a second quicker than Jane Channel.
This is Marina's second year on her Schneider sled, second year working with Ivo Pacalans. She came into the sport as an incredible starter and ended up with a couple injuries and was given the opportunity basically to learn how to drive the sled best way possible.
Yeah, started off in bobsleigh. She was twice a junior world champion brakewoman for 2 different drivers. That's how good she was.
Really nice line there into the snakes.
And it really feels like it's a different Marina this season. She's so much more relaxed off the sled, and that means on the sled as well.
Definitely.
100th in front. Gap's going to be tiny here, isn't it? 98.4. That's quicker than Jane Channel.
Really good speed coming out of Horseshoe.
Now she's in the green. 1:10.9. Only Anna Tettemer has been quicker.
Really nice lines here in those 4 right-hand corners.
Well, of course, it's a Swiss track, but they have barely any runs this season because when they might otherwise have been having extra runs, it was ready for the Olympics, and she's half a second clear, 1:10.50. There's Evo, and that's a huge improvement. She did a 1:10.87, so she's gone 33 hundredths quicker. That is massive.
A little bit of a scream from her and some cheering.
I'm not surprised. A 1:10.5. There's teammate Ronnie Arderset.
Marina is just loading onto her sled, switching those hands over so she can load on as quickly and as quietly as possible. Head nice and low, good aerodynamic position, quick toe drop. And I was talking to the Swiss athletes. The day the track opened was the day they left for Winterberg.
Yep. Always the way. They barely get any time at all. Maybe a week, Christmas to New Year, if there's not an Olympics. So, 8 sleds to go, and among them 3 German athletes, including our current leader. But Sofia Graybill, the third of the German sleds, in 8th place. Her slender advantage over Marina Gilardoni, 600ths of a second. And she needs to find some of that at the start.
Marina laid down a really quick run.
Well, last week we saw Germany's Felix Kaisinger come from 12th place to a medal. I don't want to jinx her, but Marina Gilardoni's run was such that she might start thinking about a medal here as well.
Definitely, it was a run she can really be proud of. A little bit of a tap there we've seen many athletes struggling with.
Almost nobody's gone even as quickly as their first heat.
Nope.
But now, to survive, you've got to think about going a quarter of a second faster just to stay in front of Marina.
She really did lay it down.
It's a smoking run. Decent height from Sofia Graybill, not the highest, but she is rigid with her form.
Good speed coming out of Horseshoe.
Yeah, fastest sled of all, and all 3 FES sleds were really flying at the bottom of the track. 1:11.2, quicker as well. The gap's coming right down to Gilardoni. This is a fast run. Has the track suddenly started to change?
It's going to be close to the bottom of the track.
Wow, 1:33.8, very quick indeed. This could be within 100th or 2 at the line. Gilardoni or Goebel? It's Gilardoni. She didn't have the pace at the bottom that Marina had.
St. Moritz is a bit of a unique track because that last split is so long that you don't really know if you're going to be the leader or not at the bottom when you're standing in the leader's box.
And that final speed trap is not their maximum speed. It's just what they're doing between Sachs and the eye going into the penultimate corner. So they are still accelerating, and if they're not, you don't know if they are or not.
Quick load onto that sled, and she's going to want to tuck her arms underneath her legs as quickly as possible to get in a nice aerodynamic position. You can see the sled just wiggling a little bit underneath her. Those runners aren't going straight, so you're not able to accelerate the whole time during those long, long straightaways.
Little damp patch of ice there as well. That won't have helped with the speed. Sofia Graybill in second. Next up, Bosmans Belgium, 7th place after first heat. Real standout run for little Kim in the first heat.
Really quick toe tap so she gets onto the sled through that first kink.
Again, like most we've just seen, 100th quicker at the start.
Really relaxed on that sled, completely lasered into where she needs to go.
Yeah, just thinking it across to the right-hand side for the line she wants into wall. Nice and early on wall. Little nudge into snake 1 and snake 2. Bump on the exit and a skid into Sunny.
Really nice exit there on Sunny.
This is going to be super close, isn't it? We talked in the first heat, Bosmans, born and bred in Bavaria, and she learned to slide in the German program in Koenigsegg. 1400s back, but 98.0, decent speed.
She's really got to be perfect here on the bottom of the track.
1:10.6, that's pretty good as well. I'm not sure it's going to be enough to close down Marina Gilardoni unless she finds the German portal at the bottom that gives them more speed. 1:32.6, how close at the line? Not going to be close enough, surely. Second or possibly third at the line. It is third place for Kim Marsmans. Marina Gilardoni stays in the leader's box.
She's back on her Schneider sled this year, so she is trying to kind of groove with that again. It is difficult to switch sleds every year.
That's why Formula One drivers don't change teams every season, because you spend a whole year learning and then you spend, oh yeah, all next year learning as well.
Definitely. She's had tons of coaches this season as well, so trying to really figure that out. Bit of a skid as she enters into Sunny. It is like a skate stop. Really nice height in horseshoe, heads down. She's not looking. You don't need to look.
She just totally believes that, doesn't she? Great run from Kim Marsmans. Kendall Wessenberger, the USA, top 6 run in the first heat. So now, when you've got friends and family watching and you know you've laid down a smoker, does that give you confidence? Does it relax you? Are you more keyed up to try and benefit from it?
I think she definitely benefits out of having her family and friends here, because she knows when she gets off the sled, regardless of what happens, they still think she's cool.
Yeah. Okay, 5:55 getaway. Same as in her first heat, and that leaves her with work to do against Marina Gilardoni, who started 0.3 of a second quicker.
And beyond that, the artwork on her sled is literally her friends and family.
And the helmet is stunning as well, isn't it? Great opportunity to express yourself. And that's a nice looking run from Kendall. Avoided the tap going into Snake 1 and Snake 2. And this is what she did in the first heat. She was just super clean everywhere.
She's been successful here in the past. She's won a medal. She knows this track very, very well.
Silver medalist here in the race in January 2017.
Really good speed coming out of Horseshoe.
Now she is up to 8th place on the splits. She is finding speed. Fastest again, quicker than Goebel, quicker than Tettemer, quicker than Gilardoni, the current leader.
Keeps the sled nice and parallel through those right-hand corners. It's a perfect mix of grip and speed.
Listen, almost everybody says I'd slide here every fortnight if I could. Kendall really would. 2900s behind, not quite enough. 1:10.92 for her. Exactly the same run that we've seen, or the same time that we've seen from Kim Marsmans. So she stays in front of Marsmans, but drops a fraction behind Marina Gilardoni, who stays in the leader's box, and Sofia Goebel, who stays in second. 5 to go. Kendall will be no worse than 8th position here in St. Moritz this year.
Speed at the bottom. Yeah. 34.4.
All right.
Yeah, big speed at the bottom.
Really good run for Kendall. Just didn't quite have the speed from the start and was unable to hold on to that at the bottom of the track. Really nice control as she goes through these right-hand corners and into Gunter Sachs. Heads low, shoulders on the sled.
Megan Henry, teammate down there, and Savannah there to wish her the best. 5 to go. Marina Gilardoni, the race leader here in St. Moritz. Elena Nikitina in 5th position. 53.
Start record.
Wow. 53 hundredths off the lead, but a brand new start record again, as in the first heat. 5:09, now 5:07.
Really what we expect to see from Nikitina is these start records. She's been so dominant there, and she needs to be able to push that to the bottom of the track to...
Oop. Already, though, late outer wall, takes a tap into Snake 1 and Snake 2, bumps off Snake 2, wrong line for Sunny, so all of that speed is going to start to ebb away.
And it's hard to get back on that line in those quick transition areas.
Out of Nash and Dixon, looking to go left into Horseshoe, but only medium height from the Russian rocket, 73 hundredths up still.
Doesn't quite have that top speed we've seen some other athletes have.
Marina Gilardoni was quicker, 69 hundredths.
The gap's going away a little bit, but I don't know.
Oh, I think Nikitina may well hang on, but she lost so much speed at the bottom of the track in the first heat. Little rub on the wall, 1:32. How close will she be? She was 7/10 up. She can't be behind at the line. She must be the leader. She is. 1:10.30. Well, that's 2800s, better than her first heat. I think the track finally is actually rewarding the athletes for all their efforts and starting to speed up a little.
Definitely. And I think she had a bit cleaner run as well. She was
Yep.
a bit squirrely in the top part on the first heat.
Well, the goofy grin on the helmet.
She's coming off of wall with lots of pressure, but it didn't really tap her into the wall. It kind of just nudged her away.
She's going so much faster than everybody else, though, when she hits those walls, and that's why it's having less effect.
Definitely. The quicker start you have, the more mistakes you can make down the track.
There's the big smile from Elena Nikitina. Yeah, the cold is gone, isn't it? Okay, 4 to go. Janine Flock, a multiple winner on this track. Winner in 2018, winner of the European Championships and the gold medal here in 2016. Winner in 2015. Let's see what she's got in 2020.
She is on an MCR sled, so it is new. There's only 2 of them on tour.
She had 3300s in hand over Elena Nikitina, 100th when she lay down, and Nikitina's early speed is going to leave Janine in a hole coming down to Horseshoe. But it's below there that her experience has to count.
Of course, she has to drive her way out of that start deficit.
Ooh, I don't think it's happening. The sled is getting away from her 2 or 3 times already. Very un-Janine.
Really late into Horseshoe, almost a tap on that side, can't tell from the camera.
2300s, the gap's coming down, 98.5.
Not
That's
huge
not
speed.
as quick as the Russian.
112.1 is great speed.
Here we go.
Oh,
1200's back. She's got track enough to come back at her. Little skid from leap into sacks. Touch on the wall. 134.5. Is it enough? Is she going to be in front of the line? Will she lose speed? She takes the lead. Look at that. Look at the amount she found in those final couple of corners. She was still accelerating hard through the speed trap and adds another 500ths of a second to a lead over Elena Nikitina. But it's all down in the forest.
a little bit of a slap at the sled. Not what Janine would have liked. A bit of a tap coming up the top of the track. Really weird kind of exit out of Sunny there.
Yeah.
She just misses the wall, but it puts you in such a late entry into Nash. You have to work so hard in Dixon just to stay off that wall, and she taps it just a little bit.
Tap and a skid here as well, but she still had the top speed at the bottom. And it is Janine Flock who takes the lead with 3 to go. Jacqueline Lurling wearing the yellow jersey of our World Cup points leader, 3rd in the first heat, 100th ahead of 3-time winner here in St. Moritz, Janine Flock. So can a German win on this track for the first time in 2 decades in women's skeleton?
Jacqueline Lurling had to lose quite a bit of weight this season to be able to compete with the new rules, and in turn, she's become a much quicker starter.
5:41, 300ths quicker than her first heat. She was 1900ths off the lead, 100th ahead of current leader Janine Flock. Oh, and a little skid there as well off wall.
Really fighting that line.
She's normally so calm and relaxed on the sled, like Janine.
Much better into Nash than we saw from Janine.
Right, and this should give her the speed coming out of Horseshoe. Will she be the first to get 100 kilometers an hour top speed? She's got to be there, she is.
No surprise that all these Germans know where to find speed, even with not the quickest starter.
1 medal ever on this track in World Cup. That was bronze last year, and she is going to at least equal that unless there's a catastrophe down here. Straight down the middle, 135.7, a kilometre an hour quicker than anybody else.
Massive
Is this
speed.
enough to move her up the order? Hits the
Track
wall,
record.
1:10.04. New track record, 2/10 quicker than her first heat. And 100th inside the mark set by Tina Hermann, her teammate, in the first run.
She knows her run was good,
Yes,
especially at the bottom of the track.
very happy with that. She's our World Cup points leader. She won in Lake Placid, she won in Eagles.
Just a bit of a skid and small tap before Snake 1. Really nice height in Horseshoe. Just doesn't even look, doesn't need to. And that's where she gets that 100 kilometers an hour.
Believes it all the way. The only time she's been off the podium, ironically, on her home track in Winterberg. 2 to go, and a 2-time winner in the form of Meimerdinger. She won last year, she won in 2017 by very nearly 2 seconds over Kendall Wessenberg and Janine Flock. Let's see if she can claim gold today.
Great start from Mimi. She's a powerful starter.
600s quicker than her first heat. That should give her 2 tenths at the bottom of the track and maybe a little more.
Totally relaxed on the sled. Not fighting it at all.
3800s in front of Jacqueline Lurling.
Very similar to Jacqueline Lurling coming out of wall. A little bit of a skid and tap.
Needs to get nicely off Sunny, heading down to Nash and Dixon, straight down the middle of the track. Great looking exits from Meimerdinger, building speed, decent height. Let's see what she's got. Is 3 digits for her? No, not quite.
She's got to be perfect at the bottom of the track to try to hunt down Jacqueline Lurling.
Gap has gone from 3800s to 1800s, but we've seen Mimi do this before on the straight.
She doesn't have the speed that Lurling had.
Elizabeth Meyer shaking her head. She needs 136 at the bottom. Not enough, nothing close enough. Can she haul it back here in the final 2 corners? Gets nudged away. At the line, it's Lurling in front. It is by a big margin.
Yikes.
110.41, 2100 slower than her first run. And she goes from being 400s ahead of Jacqueline Lurling to 3300s back.
Not totally sure where the speed went there for Mimi.
Again, runner setup, runner choice for the day, weather changing. You're gambling, aren't you, when the weather's being different every day of training?
Loads on the sled super smoothly. She's going to get those hands under her nice and quickly. Good aerodynamic position. Maybe a little bit low in horseshoe. That could be where some of the speed went.
Yeah, middle of the corner. She wasn't flirting with the roof like Janine Flock. So Meimerdinger lies in 3rd behind Janine Flock and Jacqueline Lurling. Could still take a medal. One woman decides who's going to win this. We're going to have a German winner for the first time in 2 decades.
You can hear her toes just tapping behind her. You'll see her head wiggling left and right.
Again, 500s quicker than her first start. Her advantage over Jacqueline Lurling was 1900s of a second.
She had a very good first run.
3200s up. She was fastest in all the speed traps apart from the start. Tiniest brush. Oh, little flop off snake. She's going to be late into Sunny. Does she come out with skids? No.
Was able to drive through Sunny to control it well.
Little tap from Nash to Dixon. Again, just shuffling her weight around to get the line she wants. Medium height in horseshoe, but lands it nicely. 1/4 of a second, 1/3 of a second up, and equal speed to Lurling.
It's a really nice run from Tina. Just small mistakes, but she's relaxed into it.
Quicker than Jacqueline Lurling. This is what she did in the first heat, just adding incremental advantages. 3400s, 3600s up. This could be a big win for Tina Hermann. 136 at the bottom. The fastest of all is going to be gold for Tina Hermann. Her first win in St. Moritz. Yep. And it is a German 1-2. 109.82, a new track record. Didn't want to suggest that she'd need one to win it, but she got one anyway. And Jacqueline Lurling takes the silver medal, her best result here. Tina Hermann's had 2 silvers in 4 years. She claims her first win here, and the fist is back.
And I think she's the only one in 109s.
Yep, the only 109 run of the entire day. So Tina Hermann wins it from Jacqueline Lurling and Janine Flock, again in the medals. When was the last podium that didn't have Janine on it? 2014. Noelle Piker's Pace, the winner from, all right, last year. Okay, fair enough. Meimerdinger, Elena Nikita and Jacqueline Lurling. But 2014 was before she even started World Cup racing, so no surprise that she wasn't on it then. But a big win for Tina Hermann, big win for German Skeleton as well.
Yep. Works closely with Felix Kaisinger, so maybe they had a similar setup.
Yeah, well, whatever the German athletes and coaches have come up with, they came up with some great answers, didn't they?
There's Papa Lurling.
Yeah, the family travel a lot to watch her. They're very happy with that, and Tina Hermann as well. Big run in the first heat, and she just doubled it in the second.
Yeah, really clean run. run. I mean, she wiggles the whole way down the track, but that's what she does. That's how she finds speed.
You should try it out.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Next year. But really clever run, really clean
Yeah,
run.
1900s ahead in the first heat, more than doubled it to win by 4100s. In any skeleton race, that is a big margin of victory. And for her first ever win in Switzerland, Tina Hermann ahead of Jacqueline Lurling and Janine Flock. Mimi Reniva in fourth ahead of Elena Nikitina, and Marina Giladoni finishing in sixth position for Switzerland. So entertaining action and a German 1-2, not just a medal, but a 1-2 result for them. Fantastic stuff for the German skeleton program, with 2 athletes on the men's podium and a 1-2 Doppelsieg in the women's. Well, not just a big result, but a real landmark. My little notes don't go back far enough to tell me who the last German winner was.
Yeah.
Marion Thies, I don't think ever won here, so we're now looking back. Did Kirsten Jürgens-Simkowiak win here? Anna Huber never won here, I don't think, so we're now going even further back to the likes of maybe in the early days Gabby Kolisch or somebody. So
Which puts Lolling at under 10 years old when that would have happened.
Yeah. Well, in infant school. I mean, the last result I've got is 2007. And how old is Jacqui now? She is 24, so 2007, that's 13 years ago. She was 11 then. So, yeah, a long while back. Janine Flock. Another medal for her on this track. Again, it just rewards experience. It rewards the ability to find that zen calm, doesn't it? And that really works well. And both these German sliders can find pace at the bottom of the track like almost nobody.
An incredibly strong season for these girls again. I mean, as we expect.
And Tina Hermann was 20 points behind Janine Flock. She gets 210, which is 10 more than Janine gets for third. So she's now 10 points behind. Jacqueline Lurling continues to lead the World Cup standings. So going to be potentially a 3-horse race when we get to the final of the season in Sigulda in Latvia.
Mimi takes her fourth of the season.
Yeah, again, she's having a strong run. Best result of the season for Mimi, silver medal in Winterberg. The only one that Jacqui was off the podium. And Tina Hermann, it's win number 3 of the year. She is coming up fast on the rails. One race to go in the Women's Skeleton World Cup after St. Moritz. That's in Latvia in 2 weeks' time. Jacqueline Lurling, Tina Hermann and Janine Flock all go loaded for bear, aiming for the Crystal Globe. Just 5 points between Tina Hermann in second and Janine Flock now down to third position. And Jacqueline Lurling in pole position to claim the Crystal Globe as our World Cup leader. But the victory here today, Lisbeth Meyer, a dominating performance by Tina Hermann for her first St. Moritz gold.
Really good runs from Tina. You'd think it was a German track, honestly, with them finishing first and second. Very clean runs, highest speeds out of anybody. Out of Horseshoe, the only 2 hitting 100 were those 2 German girls. And at the bottom of the track, no one even compared in speed.
Well, the more metres of ice there are for Tina Hermann and Jacqueline Lurling, the better to undo their start deficit. And to a degree, that's the case for Janine Flock as well. She's always gone well here. Another podium result for her. She takes the bronze medal, silver for Jacqueline Lurling, and gold for Tina Hermann. And some mum champagne to enjoy with their friends and family.
Or to spray, yeah.
Nah. That is it for the... Oh, Tina. Well, I guess you only win in St. Moritz once for the first time.
You better enjoy it.
So make the most of it. And she probably has to do dope testing afterwards anyway, so you don't want to be full of champagne. And Jacqueline Lurling, her best result here as well. Her first medal last year in bronze. She moves up to silver. And that's it for skeleton. My thanks to Elizabeth Meyer again for all the knowledge this weekend in our skeleton races. Thanks to you for joining us from St. Moritz, from Martin Haven and the IBSF TV crew. We'll see you with more skeleton action to decide the Crystal Globes in 2 weeks in Sigulda in Latvia. Bobsleigh comes up on Saturday and Sunday here in Switzerland. Join us for all the action then. But until then, from Switzerland and St. Moritz, it's a glamorous goodbye for now.